Hello, my name is Couch Coop and we're going to look at number 7 of the top couch co-op split screen PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 games of all time. Bit of a controversial entry. We're going with fighters. I've had to pick one, but I'm going to kind of talk about two. And I'm lucky enough to have been around when fighters, particularly one of the franchises we're talking about on this video, were viewed by the mass media as almost satanic-like, violence-inducing, mind-bending pieces of software that could almost hypnotize your kid into being a killer. Unfortunately for these people, there wasn't one case. And it's been, 35 years now since we've had these sorts of video games available on the mass market. It just always seems crazy when it starts up, and it will start up again with GTA 6.
Video games have become a $4 billion a year business.
$4 billion, that's 1994.
Put them on their Christmas lists. As ABC's Bill Greenwood reports, there is a growing concern on Capitol Hill that parents who buy some of those games may not realize just how much violence they're getting.
One of the most vicious games is called Mortal Kombat. The objective is to finish off your opponent.
Finish off.
Another method is decapitation. Critics, including the National PTA, say such video games contribute to violence in real life. And television's Captain Kangaroos...
Who the hell's Captain Kangaroos? Can we get some comments, please? Is that a real thing?
These are not harmless toys, that they can indeed cause great emotional and other damage to a child.
Congress will be asked to establish a rating system to protect children from gruesome games.
We now require warning labels on toys that can potentially damage children's bodies. Why not do so on a toy that can damage their minds?
Barry Rhodes bought the game anyway.
Yeah, I think I'm going to dedicate this entire video to Barry Rhodes, you fucking legend. Yeah, let's get back on topic, because playing on the couch against somebody is my earliest couch co-op offline kind of memory. And we have to look at the terminology here. When I say couch co-op and I'm referring to these sorts of games, I do mean versus. Very few of them actually have, two of you against the AI. It is not a common thing seen in the genre, but I want to touch on one of the earlier and probably the coolest fighter available on the PlayStation 4. I know it's a matter of opinion, but Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is legendary. It's funny, there's kind of a few tiers of fighter. There's what's called flare fighters, which are all about being airborne quite a lot and having a very large character roster, and even taking that character roster on pitch and having a depth of different options to go to during an actual game. I would say Guilty Gear's a flare fighter, maybe some of the Blaze Blue older and recent stuff, but basically loud, flashy, huge moveset, a lot of airborne combat, and specials that stop the whole game for about 3 seconds. Having all of that in mind when looking at what we're seeing here, at the top of the screen you can see the character roster. So there's 6 players that are available to fight this, 3 on each team, and you can roll or scroll through them with the shoulder buttons, and when they're in trouble you can pull them out and they get a bit of health back when they're kind of sitting out of ring. It's like a tag team thing, and man, the depth it gives you, because at the bottom of the screen you've also got your level that you've reached on each character from dealing damage, that opens up huge winning specials. There's a hell of a lot of resource management going on during this, what seems like just a loud, brash standard fighter. It is 1,000 miles from any Street Fighter or even Mortal Kombat Western fighting game. It's a whole new world, and the airborne combat in itself and getting used to how to parry and queuing up moves is unbelievable. I was thinking about my competitor reviewers, ACG, Skiller, the big boys. They don't know what they're talking about with fighters, they don't. I'm a Justin Wong man. I was there right at the beginning, Street Fighter 3 Alpha. It's so embedded in me, and it's really part of my couch co-op heritage. Talking of heritage, the character roster in Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is unbelievably mind-blowing. This is where I can go to play as Dante while switching out to Beautiful Joe and then having Chris Redfield on the old R button. And it's Resident Evil 5 Redfield, the badass one with all the grenades and electrifying equipment. It's totally amazing. 2 Resident Evil characters in here, including Nemesis, which is well scary. He's got some really awesome moves, and the developers really took a personal touch with each of these characters. The Akami Wolf is so amazing with its specials and the lifted samples from the game, and Beautiful Joe, just some of the moves that he implements within Marvel vs. Capcom 3 are totally in line with the moves that he had in his original game, and he features nowhere else on the planet now, by the way. So back to my original point, if you're playing this locally versus, it's huge, not only on a nostalgia level, but on a tactics level, and you and the person against you are going to really find yourself heading down this huge rabbit hole, which opens up on a tier basis, and before you know it, you're going to be like flying around in the air doing these like epic clashes about 50 feet above the actual battleground itself, and doing show-stopping specials and finishing off bouts with huge moves. You will smile the whole way through. And the Marvel homages are awesome, including Wolverine still being in the series. Do not get the new Marvel vs. Capcom game.
Keep it in style. Jackpot.
Okay, we've switched out to 2022, and this is the PlayStation 5 version of Mortal Kombat 11, and I took the opportunity to get quite a few of the add-on characters. Don't normally like doing those sort of transactions, but with fighters, if they're good enough and they were on offer at the time, I picked them all up. It was damned amazing. Only person missing is Rambo, not a huge loss. The fan service is crazy good, with all of them having their own interactive ending scenes depending on what sort of brutality you deliver, and it really gave me a boost on the whole package itself, because there's not that stronger roster on base game with Mortal Kombat 11. Here's the thing with Mortal Kombat and Couch Versus, compared to that previous game, this is almost like a two-dimensional control system, giving you really rudimentary and easily reached moves, and moves that mimic some of the Street Fighter setup. So someone who's got muscle memory in that direction will fall into Mortal Kombat quite quickly, and that's very important. You've got to remember that you have to go through that initial induction process with your mate if they're new to it, and if they're that annoyed with the game they won't like it and play it with you. So having small moves that give them those breadcrumbs then lead on to big specials and finishes totally acts as a good incentive. We do all have pad slapper mates. I've got a couple of them. Funny story, I took this round to a friend's house and we got into it. I was hyping it up and saying, you know, this is the brand new one, it's going to be totally epic. 2 minutes into the game I just stop and take the disc out and take the pad off him, and he's like, what's going on? The noise that was coming from their half of the room, it was like being on the set of Saving Private Ryan. Mortal Kombat is what I call a tap-tapper. You are tapping the directional buttons prior to slapping a button. So it's a little bit different to Street Fighter. You have quite a complicated input and then maybe one button on the face. With this, it's tap up, tap down, tap, tap back, and normally a face button input. And then you can clasp one of the shoulder buttons and give that move an enhanced impact and look. That's so cool. Robocop fires like 5 bullets instead of the normal 2. Everything's like ramped up. I love it. It can even break some moves. So it's really cool. It's like a turbo option to go to when you're pushing out punishment.
You tried to reprogram me.
I would have made you Killer Dilla.
Incorrect.
Whose voice was that? Why didn't they get Arnie in to record his own lines? That was a bit annoying. And of course they missed out two of my favourite from XL. I can't believe they did this. Found this hilarious commentator. Check this clip out.
Oh, it's going down. I'm scared.
Fight.
The aliens, the xenomorph starting off strong, gonna get the egg sack in place. We got AB fucking P.
I actually do watch a lot of Evo and a lot of the esport competitive side of this, because the commentators are so funny and they get so hype. We've had nothing yet that really equals that Justin Wong parry, and that could be a consequence of the structure of that game with its parry system, but that was kind of maybe the industry's high point. It certainly wasn't Captain Kangaroo. It still gives me goosebumps. 2004, that was one hell of a thing to happen. And look up and look into it. Justin does his own YouTube stuff as well. He's just reviewed some of that new Street Fighter material that we've been seeing, which actually looks a shit ton better than Street Fighter 5. I want to hang on this shot for a little while because this is amazing how well they have paid a tribute to that film with these winning screens. All of them get them, and they're detailed AF. It's such a great piece of DLC to put in. That's why I didn't mind paying for it, because it's not just a few new moves and a cool new character. All of the brutalities, all of those end screens, even unlocking some of their cosmetic stuff is totally epic to do on the one player in the arcade mode. This Mortal Kombat also retails at the PlayStation 4 cost and gives you a free optional PlayStation 5 upgrade, and there was that sweet spot that we had last year. Borderlands did it, Forbidden West did it by accident, but this one's brilliant, really worth the value. It's 4K straight, 60 frames per second, it's kind of jaw-dropping. Let's touch on those visuals quickly. It is the best looking fighter on the market. The studio have always had a reputation for quality, and when the original came out they used quite a lot of actual real mapping on people. It looked a bit fuzzy and weird. It wasn't completely animated from the ground up like the Street Fighter material was. But as time went on, it solidified its look and became one of the most brutal and realistic looking fighters available on the market, and now it sits in this crowned position where every animation is just spectacular. The gore is ramped up to such a superb level, and what the hell has happened to all of the outrage about this? I have uploaded that trailer, which is only gore kills, and there has been no mention or any restrictions on what I put in on the upload. Yeah, you guessed it, I've kind of gone full circle a little bit here and a bit concerned about how gory this game actually is and how much of a younger audience are getting exposed to it. It's not going to brainwash them into turning into psychopathic killers, but it's certainly not a nice thing to see if you've got younger children and they view some of this content. Also with my channel, a lot of my audience are a bit younger, so as a father that plays on me a little bit that this game is getting, because of its popularity, just exposed to everything. You've got to remember that the internet has removed a lot of walls that weren't there with content. Back in the 90s and 80s, if you wanted to see or view something that you weren't supposed to, you actually had to do it on an hour basis. What I'm talking about is you had to stay up past a certain time to be able to view content like that. There's none of those restrictions anywhere on the internet because it's international. There's no time barriers. It's not like they go on a Facebook feed and it's gone 9:30 and they're not going to see anything untoward. We're moving into a very strange area on that front. Sorry to get all depressing. Let's get back to this and how strong a game it is for 2022 and how awesome it is to have this with a mate round and to do all of that horrible stuff to each other. It will never get boring for me. It'll be one of the ones I'll be playing in the old people's home. The nurses will disconnect the pads and it will just be like that demo thing you get on the title screen, and I'll be so doddery I won't notice and I'll keep thinking I'm winning. Everyone in the home will clap and stuff. I'll be like, how did Marjorie just beat me? She's got Alzheimer's. I'm also going to touch the fifth rail as we're talking about local PvP offline games, and I've got a video coming out shortly about a sports game that I did very much enjoy. But one of my channel's mantras when I first started this was no Minecraft, no Fortnite, and no FIFA. MFF. I really wanted to stick with that. And if you're a fan of the series, you know, I was around when Sensible Soccer was big and I remember how that all started. I know it's a huge area, and a lot of people, especially those who are aware of my channel's content, they ask me about that and say, why do you not go down that road? Because there's huge numbers behind a lot of the FIFA open a little plastic pack of stickers on YouTube area. My response is this: I'll never play a video game of something that I can actually do in real life. And that really does ring true with just about all of my genres that I cover. Driving games even so, because you can't drive a very expensive Mercedes-Benz around Brands Hatch every other day, but you can just walk down to the park and probably have better graphics and better physics with kicking a football around. I know that sounds harsh. Video games have always been for me about escapism, trying to get away from the normal world. The further away from it you get, the better the video game normally. And that was something that I touched on in the single player list, annotation and comment. And guys, we've got number 6 coming up. It's going to be massive. I've got a lot of homework to do. I have been Couch Coop. I will see you then.
One of the most vicious games is called Mortal Kombat. The objective is to finish off your opponent violently. Another method is decapitation. Critics, including the National